Monday, and we got a lot going on. Charlie, how you doing? How are you still on your holiday? All right, your Adventure X. Diana, how are you doing out there in Montana? Egan, Florida is here. Mark Roeder's joining us today. Free Candy, you are in the house. How is Austin? And Lee Kenton out in the northern British Isles. How are you doing, buddy? If you were on YouTube or Restream, shoot me a message. Shoot me a comment. That's the only way I know that you're there. And I can interact with you all, as I can't see you through Periscope or YouTube because I'm using Restream. Charlie is back in the Netherlands. Louise, how you doing, buddy? It's good to see you. And also, I need to know if we are live over there because I have picked up a new computer this weekend. And with that, there we go. Yes. All right. So somebody in Periscope was calling me Mick Jagger. I'll take that. So anyway, yeah, I had picked up a new computer because, as you guys know, I'm moving out to Vegas. I'm getting out of Los Angeles, and I need to make sure that I got a backup, as my other computer's been a bit buggy, and the Apple Store, the Genius Bar, is closed here. Matt Pez, how you doing, buddy? It is good to see you. All right. Well, I would talk to you, whoever that is in Periscope land, but your name is just a fire symbol, so I can't help you out there, my friend. All right. So today we released the Stephen Hayes interview, and I would definitely check it out. We have interviewed him before. He is also a big proponent of compassion over the self-esteem movement, and he's one of the biggest critics of the self-esteem movement because it has been documented not to be very effective, and we'll discuss why that is. But Stephen Hayes is also the godfather of ACT, A-C-T, Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, which, to me, alongside cognitive behavioral therapy, are two of the best and psychological tools to learn how your mind works as a human being and to optimize it to help you live fully and take advantage of its operating system. And what's interesting about that, the only people who tend to experience ACT or cognitive behavioral therapy are those that go in to seek some help in life. And they're wonderful tools to be able to help you work through certain psychological issues, anxiety being one of them. However, on top of that, not only are they great tools to be able to work through anxiety and certain phobias and fears, but also giving you an inner working of how your mind works, you can exploit its positives and its negatives. It's almost like having an extra superpower in your back pocket. ACT, acceptance, commitment therapy being one of them, and then the cognitive processing tools of cognitive behavioral therapy. We use both of those in our work at The Art of Charm, and they are incredible. Alicia Holmes says, agreed, CBT is really great therapy. Not familiar with ACT. Oh, well, I will tell you, Alicia, it's Stephen Hayes is the godfather of it, as Aaron Beck is the godfather of CBT, citing, I can't remember his name at the moment, Williams James, as the more modern person who's brought that in the day, but it's also an extension or a modern version of Stoicism. But Alicia, ACT, and its simple tools of compassion, understanding how the mind works, is very effective, especially combined with CBT. And let's just go through it, and I will give you an example of its power. So Stephen Hayes has has this idea that the mind works much like a calculator that doesn't have a delete button. So you can only enter figures into the calculator, but you can't subtract, you can't delete them, you can't take them out. Your brain works in the same manner. So loss, trauma, failures, they go into your mind, but they don't go anywhere. You can't erase them. You can't delete them. You can only have recognition of them and then work from there. So the older we get, the more damage we take on from our experiences in life. You have to be able to accept them so that you can work around them, because the results of those failures, traumas, and loss will always be there. You will over time get comfortable with them, accept them, work around them, but they'll always be there. And as we understand, as we get older, with loss, trauma, failures, these are coming our way, whether we want it or not. And so we have to be able to learn how to deal with them. And for young children, in the self-esteem movement of the 80s, in which we're still dealing with its horrific effects, is to coddle children, keep them away from failures and loss and trauma, and pump them full of self-esteem and let them know that those negative thoughts that they might be having, they need to get rid of them. They shouldn't be having them. Which makes it difficult for children to experience, to throw themselves to the wolves, so to speak, to learn, to go into the playground and attempt to make friends and play on pickup sports teams. Think about what a mother or father might think of a child going to the park for the first time to play pickup sports teams. Maybe the child isn't the best at throwing the ball yet. Maybe that child's hand coordination isn't accelerated as much as the other kids. So you know that he's going to have a difficult time. But here's the issue with that. If we go down there after our child and make sure that he gets picked to be in one of the games, and make sure that the kids are playing fair and that everybody has an opportunity, and that little Jimmy must be accepted and picked and play just an equal amount as the other kids, two things will happen. Number one, little Jimmy will have a false sense of who he is and where he is in the pecking order of the other children, and he's accepted without finding consequences of where his talents or skills may be, which would lead him to either A, want to get better, or find another hobby that he might be good at. But the other side of it is the other kids will learn to find and to be resentful to little Jimmy. Why? Because little Jimmy and his parents had forced him on the other children. And so they're going to have a natural effect to be upset about that. Blood, Sweat, and Silks. How are you doing? Blood, Sweat, and Silk says that she's laughing at the horrific effect is right. Yes, because this coddling, and we've talked about it on this show a million times, this coddling has now found its way not only through little Jimmy going to the playground to play a game of pickup basketball, it has found its way through middle school, the self-esteem movement, and high school, and now in the college. And we're seeing it play out in the world as we talk about PIP, personal improvement plans. When your employer decides that you need to be improved upon, and they're going to send you to some classes to get better, when you're not going to classes to get better. You're not being coached up. You're being coached out. Free Candy says, advantages of having a single working mom. Thankfully, she was too busy to coddle. Yeah, this is the thing. And for my generation, Gen X, as we have gotten older to have children, we're also having less, and we're also trying to make sure that in having the best opportunities that they have, that we became helicopter parents. And we've talked about it, that for some parents, they are lawnmower parents. They are getting out in front of their children and mowing over anything that possibly could get in their way. JM says, even Jordan Peterson says, quit coddling kids and also let them roughhouse to learn boundaries. Absolutely. So this is Stephen Hayes' whole point. So Stephen Hayes, Godfather Act, he's on the show this week. He is wonderful. He's one of my heroes. JM, he's up there with Jordan Peterson, Aaron Beck. I put Stephen Hayes, Russ Harris up with those guys with ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, because along with CBT, it is a power that you can install. Louise says, I can admit I can be at fault for that. Oh, as a lawnmower parent, Louise? Yeah, well, listen, if you have one child, you are going to want to make sure that that child has the best of everything. If you have 6 children, then you don't bother with them. You know that the other kids are dealing with the youngest ones and they're raising them. As everything developed, our civilization, our society has developed, our medical procedures and our ability to make sure that children survive birth and through the early years, their development years, has gotten better. So people have been holding off on having children, putting their career first, having children later. And because they're having them later, they may be having one. And then they're getting out in front of them and lawn mowing any of the hurdles that could come up. Now, one of the reasons why I like ACT is Stephen Hayes uses that analogy of a calculator that you can enter numbers in, but you can't delete them. You can only work around everything that has been entered. So as we get older, we're building up these experiences of loss and wins and victories and failures and trauma. Trauma and loss is part of life, but if we don't teach our children how to view that loss and trauma as a way to get stronger and to grow, we've taken the most impactful lessons from them. We're sending them out into the world with no skills into strengthening themselves, inoculating themselves against the rough and tumble of life. You know, when I was growing up, for myself, my dad was always, my dad was a bit of he was part hippie, but he also grew up on a farm, and he was also in the Navy. And so because he grew up on a farm, he had no compassion for any of the whining and crying that I did when I was bitching about chores. In fact, I'd have to hear about the chores he had to do growing up on a farm, which would only minimize any of the suffering I was having, shoveling some snow or raking out the yard. Ninja Cat, hello, how are you doing on this Monday? Ninja Cat says, my 20-year-old daughter is raised by my 18-year-old. Oh, she's raising my 18-year-old son for me. She's a great mom. Right on, Ninja Cat. Well, I guess if she's a great mom, it's because she had a great mom. That's very important. So, how do we move forward in order to fix the situation that we're in with this over coddling of children and taking away their life lessons? Well, we're going to have to get back to free range raising of children. You know, there are things in my childhood. I mean, my parents, in the summer, I would be out, I would eat breakfast and leave the house. I wouldn't be home all day until maybe lunch, and then I'd be back out. There was a lot of nature around our house, and me and the neighborhood kids would go into the woods all day, and we would be falling out of trees, bashing our heads off of rocks, getting lost, fighting. I mean, God, it was endless. I was, as a boy, coming home, sprained ankles, bleeding, cuts, scrapes, covered in dirt. It got to the point where going to the hospital to get stitches, became so normal and frequent in growing up that I would be able to recognize when I had gotten hurt to the point where I would have to go to the hospital. And I wouldn't even be in shock about it anymore. It would be like, Dad, I think I got to go to the hospital. I'm bleeding pretty good this time. And of course, my dad would get over here. Let me see what's going on. Holy, get your ass in the van. We're going to the hospital. But that was life growing up where I'd grown up, and that was just the way it was. My neighbor, we were racing bikes, and he down a hill where he had flown over his handlebars and knocked his front teeth out, and that was like, I don't know, we were like 13. To this day, he has 2 fake teeth in the front because of that accident. I was there. I ran home. I was like, "Oh, I'm not sticking around for this." But that was just what that was, you know. Stephen Hayes brings up a very important point of where that self-esteem movement, where it changed, where we now found, and I was part of that. When I was in junior high, we would have to go to these pep rallies. Now, there was several types of pep rallies. There was the Don't Do Drugs pep rally. There was the football team was going out, we're going to have a pep rally for them. Or there was maybe some sort of fundraiser rally. And then there was the rally that were the self-esteem rallies. The self-esteem rallies were, we would all have to go to the auditorium. And I remember, I was like, what are these? Because it seemed there wasn't the normal point. It wasn't a sports rally. It wasn't a Don't Do Drugs rally. And there would always be like a performance that was from one of the kids, maybe the cheerleaders or the majorettes came out and twirled batons and did. It was like a pep rally for the football team, but the message was never really clear. But we were told that it was a self-esteem rally, and of course, as teenagers, we don't want to have to admit that we needed self-esteem. What teenager wants to admit to his friends that he's not confident? So the self-esteem rally, this is perfect. It became a witch hunt because I didn't need a self-esteem rally, and I knew my buddy, Animal, he didn't need a self-esteem rally, and I knew my buddy Bill, he didn't need a self-esteem rally. So who was the self-esteem rally for? Oh, maybe it was for Timmy. Yeah, Timmy needs a self-esteem rally. So now that we found who needs self-esteem, we had a victim. We had somebody that we could push all of our fear off of and onto that kid. I mean, the self-esteem movement had the opposite effect. In fact, it put our insecurities into a target that we could take it out on, rather than feeling good that we were getting pumped with this false self-confidence. It was a bad movement. And Stephen Hayes makes great points that we're still paying the price for the self-esteem movement. And I'm not going to argue with him. I'm seeing it all around. One of the other attributes, and this goes to JM and Alicia, who hadn't heard of ACT, but has heard of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is core value living and living through your core values. Finding 5 core values that allow you to feel good, that allow you to feel like you are making the most out of your day. You pick 5, and then you arrange your week and each day in a way that you are able to engage in those core values. How do you get to your core values? You ask yourself, what would you need to do on a daily basis in order to feel good? Or the old thought experiment that if you had $1 billion, what would you do what would you be doing? What would you be doing with your life if you weren't preoccupied with making money or paying rent or covering your bills? What would you be doing? Most people can envision themselves pretty easily at a beach, sipping pina coladas, enjoying themselves on some island. But that only goes so far. What about after that? After that has run its course, what are you going to be doing to feel fulfilled, satisfied, to derive value for yourself every day? So those values, if you can figure out what they are, and they should be an action, something that you are able to engage in. When you're able to engage in those core values, you're able to derive fulfillment in your everyday. This is called value-based living. This concept changed my life. It's such a simple one, but implementing it is incredibly difficult. Why? Because you're building habits around engaging in these values. So it takes time. But I can tell you, after working with them and building these habits, that I've engaged in my core values every day by noon. So that no matter what happens the rest of the day, I've been productive. I've engaged with what is important to me. I can go to bed feeling complete. I don't have a sense that I've left points on the field. I'm not staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'm squandering my life. I go to bed easily and get a full night's sleep, satisfied, because not only was I able to derive value out of my day and feel complete, feel fulfilled, I go to bed easily and get a full night's sleep because I'm excited to be able to have the opportunity to engage in those values again. Now, my values that I engage in is health, which is eating, sleeping, and exercise. So health, creativity, which I'm doing right now with you guys to create every day in some capacity, humor, to be able to find the lighter side of things, to be able to see the irony or the comedy in life itself. So we've got health, humor, creativity. Number 4, ceaseless learning. So that's an easy one. I have at least an hour to 2 hours a day where I'm reading, and I have plenty to read for the Art of Charm podcast. So that's 4. And number 5, the newest one, it used to be mindfulness, but now it's just meditation, where a simple few minutes meditation practice a day, just to calm down, just to be able to focus on some things. And it's a simple focus on breath in a comfortable position for about 5 minutes. That's the newest one. It used to be mindfulness, but after the Dan Harris episode, I decided to ratchet it up a little bit. That's value-based living. That's all it is. And then I have in my calendar, I have it put together in a week where I'm engaged in those core values every day. So that by noon, I've already been productive to a degree that allows me to feel satisfied. I have the rest of the day to do whatever the hell else I want. And 3, I'm not left guessing about with anything. So if you want to learn more about value-based living, pick up Russ Harris's book, The Happiness Trap. It's all about ACT. Stephen Hayes can be a bit academic and his work can be a bit stuffy. So if you want a layman's easy to grasp version of what ACT is, pick up Russ Harris's, I have it up there. Pick up Russ Harris's The Happiness Trap. It lays it all out. He talks about value-based living, and it makes it a compelling argument of why it's important. And I don't want you to take my word for it. I just want you to do it. Give it a try. What do you have to lose? I will tell you. I can only speak from experience. It changed how I went about the day, and it's fantastic. All right. Anyway, let's see. Guys, I got to go. Charlie says, falling off the mic, sounds like a Friday night, him and Lee. Right on, guys. I got to head out. It is 9 o'clock. I got a million things to do today, and I have more values to live. Andrew Ray, thank you for dropping by. Ninja Cat, thank you. It's always good to see you. You're one of the new folks been coming to the show. JM, thank you. Lisa Holmes, it's great. Thank you, JM. And Louise and Charlie and Free Candy and all you guys over there in Instagram land. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment, give it a like, hit subscribe. That allows others to find the show. And if you enjoy what I had to talk about today and you are interested in more about ACT and CBT and how you can use it in your life and take advantage of these psychological skills to bring out your X Factor to crush it in business, love, and life, just message me X Factor. We have a year-long mentorship program where we help you implement these tools. And it's sick. It's awesome. And we have so much fun. It meets every Sunday. We're already close to filling up one group and we're opening another. So if you are interested in that or any of our programs, hit me up in the DMs. I handle all of social for AOC as well. So thank you, Ninja Cat. You have a beautiful day too. See you guys. Have a wonderful Monday. Oh, and check out that Stephen Hayes interview.